And we are
Yippee!
back for. Right now, we are going to watch Ben Shapiro take the political. He is, in case you don't know, in case you live under a rock, he is he is one of the biggest conservative voices on the internet, and
Yeah, it's really sad.
I typically disagree with every single thing that comes out of his mouth. So this should be interesting.
All I really know about him is that I hate everything he says, and whenever there's a leftist video on YouTube Shorts, it gets like 1,000 likes, and then whenever there's a Ben Shapiro video on YouTube Shorts, it's 100,000 likes.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on, YouTube?
If the scale is correct in any way, I will end up in the right libertarian category.
There is no. There is no way he is a libertarian. What?
Wait, what's a libertarian?
Oh, we've been over this. Oh my goodness. As a libertarian is basically somebody that just wants to have more rights. If you think women should not be allowed to get an abortion, you are not a libertarian.
He's not a libertarian.
What?
He doesn't. He wants trans people eradicated. He's very much
exactly.
Not a
yeah, he's best friends with Michael Knowles, who literally made a speech today at CPAC talking about how we need to genocide trans people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's obviously where I am. I think the premises of the questions are incredibly stupid.
Very
so
obvious.
let's just jump right in. Question number one. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Did Bernie Sanders write this question?
Damn right he did,
What a
because Bernie Sanders is the best.
question. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like transnational corporations, which are responsible through the use of free market capitalism for the dramatic decrease of poverty throughout humanity, are now opposed to...
What? The transnational corporations are somehow very beneficial to humanity. What happened? What happened just a couple weeks ago, Ben? When a transnational corporation blew up a train in a small town called East Palestine, Ohio. This is incredibly wrong. They are opposed to humanity. They're not entirely opposed to humanity. They're just looking out for their own self-interest only.
Yeah.
All right.
Humanity? So the very phraseology of the question is idiotic. But since they're asking this, I'm just going to assume that their premise is wrong and put strongly disagree.
Everything he disagrees with is idiotic.
Have been a lot more helpful to humanity than top-down government-induced schemes. Okay, I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. I disagree with that.
Okay, good.
I disagree with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What if your country is terrible?
Yeah.
No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. And I generally agree that it's silly to be proud of just where you're born.
Okay.
We're getting some normal answers. All right.
Well, I feel like agrees with everything we agree
with other races. Strongly disagree because I don't
I thought I was just
races
gonna say some racist shit.
matter in terms of inherent quality. That's silliness.
Yeah.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I disagree with that. And the enemy of my enemy can also be my enemy. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Strongly.
What?
What?
Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. Strongly agree. What? All right, hold on. What is his reasoning?
Yeah.
International law is a bunch of crap written by countries that generally have their own priorities. The UN Security Council, Russia.
Okay.
Not being able to shoot people while they surrender, just a bunch of crap.
Okay, but so he's not. He's kind of on the point, but he misses the point entirely. International law, what is written there is good, but the problem is the same companies that wrote it, defy international law all the time. You look what America did in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you look what Russia's doing in Ukraine. You look what China does in their own country. Yeah.
In China. So I'm gonna go with strongly disagree.
Sure,
or strongly agree on we can sometimes defy the idiocy of international law, which is an idiotic construct in the first place. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Disagree. The reason I say disagree is because there was always that fusion.
Okay.
We just ignored it until the last 5 minutes when everybody got mad because conservatives were suddenly creating news. Okay, the economy. People are ultimately divided more by class than nationality. Strongly disagree.
Oh my goodness.
World War.
Wait, what did he say?
That's about
World War.
Wait, what?
Why does Ben think World War I happened? He said he strongly disagrees with that because World War I proved that a bunch of nonsense. First off, World War I was over 100 years ago. Let's get that one out of the way real quick. Second, does he really think that there's no economic motivation to World War I whatsoever.
Yeah.
That it wasn't.
Does he not know about Maine?
Yeah, there was literally there was literally a peace settlement offered to the Germans that all they had to do was give up one of their colonies in Africa, and they could have ended. That was in December of 1914. They refused because that's what they were really after, was the colonies, because the colonies make a lot of money. It did not prove anything like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Or you look what's going on now. I don't know. Okay.
Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. I agree with that, because you can't actually control unemployment. You can only provide the principles necessary in order for an economy to flourish. The only way to control unemployment directly would be through top-down government control, and you could have a horrible economy with complete employment. That was called the USSR or Cuba or Venezuela until the last 5 minutes.
Not Cuba. Okay, I'm BS on Cuba. The reason that Cuba is like that is because of Western sanctions. Is that America has forced everybody to just completely cut off ties with Cuba just because they're communists.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of crap.
That is real crap.
But USSR and Venezuela, absolutely. Yes.
Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Well, I mean, I generally agree, but I wouldn't single out corporations there. Obviously, when it comes to environmental regulations, you do require environmental regulations. You have the tragedy of the commons. You have the ability to regulate externalities. Yeah. From each according to his ability, to each according to his need is a fundamental...
No, because that's what Marx believed.
Good idea. Strongly disagree, because need should not dictate either moral worth or the morality of the thing that you need. It's a sad reflection.
No, he does not believe that. A human being with emotions does not believe that. That is so dumb.
Moral need does not justify how you work and receive money.
That is so stupid. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, this should be good. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled branded consumer product.
Okay,
let's see. Something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled branded consumer product. Strongly disagree. Why is that? Why is that bad?
Why is that bad?
I'm confused. I mean, you can still get it from the tap.
Yeah, because everybody has access to that.
You can just get it out of. Where does Ben Shapiro think tap water comes from?
Yeah.
No, but like beyond the faucet. What? You still gotta pay for that.
Why can't you just drink rain?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Seriously, if you don't like the bottled water, just don't drink the bottled water. It seems pretty fantastic that you can go to the store and buy basically whatever you want.
It's not fantastic.
Land
That's not
be a commodity to be bought and sold.
He's going to strongly
disagree, because what would the alternative be? That it would be all government owned and allocated by the government? It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. Again, the premise of that question is so ridiculous.
What do you mean?
A lot of the time when people suggest that people are just manipulating money, what they are actually doing is mitigating risk and assessing risk and providing capital and liquidity markets that allow you to...
It's gambling. That's what he just described there. With big brain words, it's gambling. Which is what people on Wall Street are doing. They're gambling.
Go out and spend on your company, on your business, or allow you to have a credit card, for example. So I'm going to go with disagree on that one. Maybe strongly disagree. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Agree, but only for national security reasons.
What?
Maybe disagree. Maybe I'll disagree.
For national... What? For national... What national... was China going to, was he referring to TikTok or Chinese phones or something? Wish? Maybe that's what he means. The Chinese government is spying on us through the products that they're selling?
Yeah.
That is so stupid. Alright.
Disagree, because it's generally not necessary in trade. It's only necessary for national security reasons. It's not necessary for economic reasons.
I don't know what that means. But
the only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Agree. I mean, agree. That's what a company is designed to do. It's designed to provide
it's what it's
a profit to its shareholders, and that has a bunch of ancillary benefits. It's not designed for employment. It's not designed for redistribution. The rich are too highly taxed. Strongly agree. And by the way, I agreed with this when I was making 50, 60 grand a year.
Okay, first off, I love how his perception of struggling is $50,000 to $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were a cook back then too, man. All right.
Yeah.
No, they're very much. They're not too highly taxed. They need to be taxed significantly more than they are right now.
Yeah.
The rich are too highly taxed. On a net basis, the
Wait,
rich
they
are
mean
paying
like
for nearly
cooking them?
everything in the country.
The rich are paying for nearly everything in the. No, they're what? No, they're not.
Yeah, no, they're not.
Provide a source for that. Because no.
Source corrector.
Yeah, I did. All right.
Right now via taxation. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Well, again, the phraseology of the question is so ass backwards because, again, the question isn't whether those with the ability to pay should have access to higher.
No, that's exactly what the question is.
Yeah.
What?
Standards of medical care. The question is whether a system that allows people to pay for better medical care also allows people who are poor to get better medical care.
No. What it's asking is if you have more money, should you get more medical care than somebody who is poor?
Yeah.
Well, the question is asking whether Jeff Bezos gets velvet glove care for a pimple he popped incorrectly, rather than a poor person not being able to get their hip replaced, dying because there's too much money.
Yeah.
Meaning that when rich people pay more for medical care, where do you think that money goes? It goes into the medical system.
Okay, and also Ben Shapiro, he hates. His reasoning behind why we shouldn't have Medicare for all is because he hates the idea that we shouldn't of us rationing medical care. But we already do ration medical care, except now we ration it on the basis of wealth, not need.
Yeah.
In a proper society, like the Scandinavian countries, for example, somebody who, needs to get their hip replaced is first in line rather than somebody who, who popped a pimple incorrectly.
Yeah.
That's what the internet is for. You figure out how to do that.
Then reinvested in drug development, reinvested in medical innovation. So the answer is agree, but again, like you can tell.
And also,
yeah,
his idea that the rich putting in money that goes into reinvesting into medical care and drug development. We have one of the lowest rankings out of all of the developed countries in the world of how much medical care we develop.
Yeah.
I think Germany is the top one in that, and they have socialized medicine.
Yeah.
It's just the fact. Like we're lowest in that too. I think Canada's up there too. Canada's like 3 or 4. I mean, their healthcare system is kind of bad.
I heard it was awful.
It's not great. But like in the UK or more like Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Norway, like they do great.
Yeah.
Who wrote these questions? I mean, these questions are obviously written by people who are very much of the political left. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public.
Because he doesn't agree with it.
Agree, but it depends on what you mean by mislead the public. Obviously, you don't actually have to have the government penalize those businesses. That's fraud. I mean, if they defraud somebody, you can have a tort suit on that basis.
Right, but that's why we have the laws. Because when you go to the court, you need to have a law that shows the company did something wrong. So the government should penalize businesses. That's what that means. We have laws to get people in trouble when they do something bad.
The market requires restrictions on the ability of.
Adam Smith believes that. If he says no, he is like, that is like rule number 1 of capitalism.
Yeah.
Predator multinationals to create monopolies. I'm going to say disagree only in the sense that a natural monopoly is nearly impossible. It is very.
No? I mean, there's like like you look at in like most parts of rural America, you've got one option for your internet service provider. And same for a lot of stuff like water or electricity. You got one option, typically. A lot of it's like Spectrum dominates a lot of like the smaller areas, and they charge super high prices for super bad internet because they can get away with that in those parts of the country.
Yeah. And
also throughout our history, I can think of Standard Oil, for John D. Rockefeller's companies. They had a complete monopoly on oil. And that was before we had stuff like the FTC. It's craziness. So yeah, I think what he's referring to would be like the British East India Company, But like that's a very one specific example of something where it was state sponsored, but no, this is wrong.
Very difficult to establish a natural monopoly. The typical way that monopolies are generated is because governments have approved them, is because governments have sponsored the monopolies. The freer the market, the freer the people. Strongly agree. Okay, next page. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Strongly agree.
Well, libertarian, by the way.
Libertarian.
Obviously a libertarian. All right.
Agree. All authority should be questioned.
Strongly disagree.
I mean, I think that we should always ask the basis for the authority. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. What? One of the great misnomers in all of biblical history is the notion that an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth is meant to be taken literally. There's entire swaths of the Talmud dedicated to discussing the fact that this is meant in terms of monetary pricing, that the cost of an eye should be repaid by compensatory damages.
But
an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, disagree. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Agree.
Arts programs are literally communism. Like, what? All right, I can't wait to hear his reasoning on this one. This should be interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, that doesn't mean you can't have a nonprofit. Most museums are run on a nonprofit.
What does Ben Shapiro think being a nonprofit means? Like, you still have to pay taxes and like bills. You know, you don't just declare yourself a nonprofit and all of a sudden like the lights just stay on perpetually. You gotta have some money coming in.
Yeah.
Basis. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Agree, but they should make it that parents are truant if they do not pass certain educational standards for their children for the welfare of kids. But suggesting that we're going to force you to send your kid to a public school as opposed to homeschooling, that's why the question is a little bit vague.
Oh, it's a little bit vague. I disagree with homeschooling for the most part. I think it's kind of stupid that, you know, a 40-year-old white woman can, you know, take her kid out of, you know, who is like, I'm not so sure about the Holocaust, can just take her school out, you know, her child out of public school and teach her what she really believes.
Yeah. See, the Jewish people are lying.
This is literally like what happens in, like, you know, Florida, where they have pretty much unrestricted homeschool laws.
Yeah.
Like what kind of classroom attendance? We're talking homeschooling or we're talking public schooling? All people have their rights, but
and also, with homeschooling, like, you don't get to like meet people. Like, you don't really get to like interact or
homeschool. It's not good for kids generally.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what they say here.
Should keep to their own kind. Again, the way this is phrased is so ridiculous. What
Come
does
on.
that mean?
What do you think it means? It means race. That's what it means. It means race.
Yeah.
Okay. Different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. Like, I think that people should marry people who have similar values, but I don't know if by kind they mean ethnicity or race, in which case completely disagree. Okay. So it completely depends on what they mean by the question. There's inherent vagary to these questions. And I understand that these questions are designed to elicit responses that are quote-unquote racist, so they can label you conservative for being racist. I understand that's what they're doing here. But the questions are deliberately written in vague fashion to elicit
everything is not a leftist conspiracy out to destroy you, Ben.
Everything's a setup to get me canceled by them on Twitter.
Oh, he was gotten canceled plenty of times.
He goes strongly disagree.
Okay, good.
Good parents sometimes have to...
He's been like canceling just doesn't exist because like he's like still the biggest conservative
it's not
ever.
A thing. Steven Crowder, Michael, like pretty much the entire Daily Wire is still on the internet. Libs of TikTok.
Yeah.
You know? It's just, oh, my goodness. Okay.
I think he's going to agree with this one.
He probably is.
Spank their children. I generally disagree with that.
Okay.
Oh, there was that guy on Prairie View who was like, oh, you should spank your children and show them real authority.
All right. That's, All right.
I'm not in favor of spanking, and I don't spank my kids. It's
for
natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. I mean, I agree that it is natural.
I think a lot of times, like, you know, your answer on that comes as you get older. Like, once you're not a child anymore, I think your opinion, you know, once you're the parent, I think your opinion on that would probably change. So I get where he's coming from here.
Bias to it.
Yeah.
Well, it is also wrong as a general matter. So I don't know what they're going for there. I'll say agree on whether it's natural, but I like that the survey immediately seems to identify natural with morally correct, which of course is silly. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. Agree? The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Strongly agree. I think moral education.
I don't strongly agree. I think there's some other responsibilities for schooling that need to be there.
Is generally the
Okay. Come on, Ben.
Come on.
Don't mess this one up.
Come on.
preserve of the parents. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree. I don't know if that, we're calling it the Woodrow Wilson eugenicist there. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. Yes. Obviously, disagree. It's an important thing for kids to accept discipline because they don't know things because they're kids. It is not the most important thing for children. The most important thing for children is to be taken seriously and develop actual rational modes of thought. There are no savage and civilized people.
Except, with Ben, the only rational mode of thought is, conservatism. Yeah. He doesn't actually encourage free thinking. He encourages free thinking when you agree with him.
Yeah.
There are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures.
There are only different cultures. Well, again, the way this is phrased is...
Come on. It is blunt. This is asking you a question.
Ridiculous. By saying peoples, what they are now implying is that if you say that there is an uncivilized culture, that you are labeling a people, meaning an ethnicity or a race.
Yes,
so the very phraseology of the question is asinine.
No, that's what it's asking. It's not asinine.
This is the question I'll answer, so now it's clear. There are no savage and civilized cultures. There are only...
This question doesn't say what I wanted to say, so I'm going to change it. Answer a different question. Okay, so there are no savage and civilized cultures. There are only different cultures. All right?
Different cultures. Strongly disagree.
What?
Obviously, that's not true. There are some cultures that suck. And if you don't believe me, check out the Taliban.
The Taliban is not a culture.
That's not a culture.
That is a government. That is a system of government. Most of the people that live under the Taliban are not very big fans of the Taliban. Or at least I would think, anyway. I don't know. Don't personally know anybody that lives under the Taliban. But, yeah, no. This is nonsense. The Taliban is not a culture.
Yeah. It's like how, Joe Biden isn't a culture.
Yeah, exactly. The government of the the House of Representatives is not a culture. The Taliban is the current system of government in Afghanistan.
Taliban. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Strongly agree. When you're in trouble, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with...
I told you. I'm telling you, he's gonna do strongly agree or agree, because this for whatever reason, every single conservative is either agree or strongly agree. I don't know why they are.
More cheerful things. Generally agree. It's better. I mean, wallowing in things is not usually a great solution. First-generation immigrants can never...
Wait, nobody's talking about wallowing in things.
They're talking about, mental insanity.
Yeah, they're talking about figuring it out.
Yeah.
Fully integrated within their new country. Disagree. What's good for the most successful corporation?
All right, come on, Ben.
is always ultimately good for all of us. Disagree, because many successful corporations are looking for government handouts or bailouts.
How do you get to the right answer in the most incorrect way? So, he said it's bad because the corporations want to give the government money. But besides that, it's all good. But because they sometimes look for, bailouts. I mean, I disagree with government bailouts for the most part. But, that is... What? That is so weird. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree with his answer, just not his reasoning.
Why, yeah.
No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Strongly.
Yeah, I get it. I get where people come from that.
Agree.
Yeah.
Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counter-terrorism. In the United States, I'm going to go slightly disagree, but I'm kind of torn on this.
What? The Patriot Act. Your favorite president, George W. Bush, didn't like gay people very much. Read up on him. Yeah, he also didn't like Middle Eastern people very much. Alright, okay.
this one. I'm like between agree and disagree, honestly. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. Strongly disagree. One-party states are garbage. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier.
I mean, he just said because one-party states are garbage.
No,
but that's not
why are they garbage?
Well, because like generally that means like you don't have any choice, between the parties and like the different ideologies. That's what the whole point of like democracy. One-party states are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. I mean, I strongly disagree. Obviously, I just answered this quiz, so I guess I don't really need to give my answers. But
only wrongdoers need to be worried. Disagree. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Strongly agree.
Strongly agree. Oh boy.
Strongly. Ooh.
Dude, he's just out there. We got. He probably would be okay with bringing back Hank Grong. Yeah. There's actually somebody. I think it's like in Louisiana that's trying to bring that back. Just
why?
Like people in Louisiana are weird.
Yeah.
Not really sure what. I'm surprised it wasn't Florida because we're going to get into that, but there's all sorts of crazy stuff going into Florida.
In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. Strongly disagree.
Okay.
Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Agree.
What?
I mean, like, if you give me a blank canvas and tell me that it's art, you're an idiot. In criminal justice,
stuff like that
should be more important than rehabilitation. Agree. Although there is a third purpose to criminal justice, which is not punishment and not rehabilitation. It's also keeping criminals off the streets. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Strongly agree. Obviously, their recidivism rates are extremely high. The business person and manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. Disagree. Many times the writer and the artist are the font of ideas, but the market decides all of that.
Free market.
I'm not going to decide who's more important and who's less important, and anybody who tries to on one end or the other end is doing the wrong thing. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers.
Yeah, we've talked about what his answer to this is that I don't entirely disagree with his answer here, but it's just,
They don't ask the question about fathers, by the way. They only ask the question about mothers. I'm going to say agree, but only because I think that if there were a question that said fathers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers, I would also say agree. Meaning that my first duty is to be a father and to be a husband. Okay, my second duty is to have a job in support of that. So I'm only going to say agree because I hold the exact same thing for men. I understand, again, these questions are designed to elicit the notion that if you're in favor of women who have children, putting their children first, it's because you're a sexist. But as I say, if the question were about fathers, I'd give exactly the same answer.
It's the leftist conspiracy.
Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. Oh, GMOs? No, disagree. Okay. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Disagree.
Oh, really? He's a... because that's his whole thing is the establishment. He's a conservative. He wants to keep the establishment. So that's interesting. I wonder if he knows what that question means. That's all right.
Depends what the establishment.
I think this is the sex page.
This is about religion, I guess. Astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree. Yeah. You cannot be moral without being religious. Disagree. I don't think you can build a fully moral system based on objective morality.
He almost got there.
Almost,
I think you can.
Close.
I think you can build a whole system of morality based off of your own experiences.
Yeah.
On pure subjectivism, but you can certainly be moral without being religious. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely...
Yeah, he likes capitalism, and he doesn't like the government doing things to help the people. So he's going to say yes to
disadvantage.
Yeah.
Agree? Some people are naturally unlucky. I don't know what that means. I mean, obviously, some people are born with certain disadvantages, so obviously that's true. If you mean, do I think that there are certain people who are just destined to walk into manhole covers, and then no. Do I think everybody is born with an equal level of privilege and luckiness? No. So I guess I'll say I agree. It is important that my child's school instills religious values. Strongly agree.
What?
Sex outside...
Wait, what?
He strongly agree to the school instilling religious values.
What the why?
No. You don't do that because okay, so what if the school decided the religious values they were going to instill was jihadism? It's Islamic extremism basically. It's what ISIS believes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No.
Well,
it's ridiculousness.
If it was like something other than like what's his religion?
he's allegedly Jewish, even though the Jewish faith, because the Jewish faith actually like it allows for abortion, and yet somehow he's against abortion. It's because he's appealing to all of the white Christian nationalists. Yeah.
like if he's like let's say he is Jewish and like he has Jewish children, if the school's like enforcing like Christianity or like Islam, would he not be like pissed off about that?
I mean, I would be. This is me.
Yeah, if they're like enforcing that shit on my children.
That's so weird.
Marriage is usually immoral. Strongly agree. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption.
Sorry to disagree.
So the answer is agree, but it depends on the alternative. I have a sort of hierarchy in terms of adoption.
What?
If you're talking about a stable, loving, heterosexual couple versus a stable, loving, same-sex couple, I'll take the heterosexual couple.
The homos are just the backups. We just gotta have them there, and just in case we run out of heterosexual people. What the fuck? This is so stupid. What? No.
He literally described the exact same thing, but just changed the sex. Like, what?
Like, he was just... Yeah, he's like, this is just trying to make me look homophobic, to label me conservative. And then, he just picks the most homophobic answer. Like, what? I mean, he just has to explain why he, like, just the intricate details of his, of his same-sex hierarchy.
Yeah. Maybe we just don't get
mothers and fathers play the same role. If you're talking about a stable, loving, same-sex couple versus an orphanage where kids are being ignored, then obviously I think that same-sex couples should be able to adopt. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. It depends who is doing the regulation. So
what? Who is doing the regulation? What does he want? Like each individual state having like a porn division that like goes after people that get caught on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
What? Who is doing the regulation?
They're like, there's like
if it's on the internet, so it's got to be like the federal government. That's how that works.
My general answer is disagree. I don't think that it should be legal, but I think that it's very difficult to draw regulation that is not too heavy-handed in this area.
I mean, I generally...
I
think it falls under
what goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly.
Unless you want to put a camera up and post that camera footage onto the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that not what he was just disagreeing with?
Yeah, he literally just disagreed with that statement.
I'm excited for this next one.
He's that'll be good.
I agree.
He's just gonna go past it.
Homosexual. Strongly disagree. And again, this... All these questions are designed to elicit particular responses. So the idea is that if you're religious and if you're conservative, then watch, it's going to list me as a libertarian. You'll say you can believe that homosexual activity is sinful on a biblical or religious level and still believe that people have natural desires to do things that are biblically sinful.
I mean, the whole fucking
these days, openness about sex has gone too far. Strongly agree, and if you disagree, it's because I'm not sure you're a sentient human. The only
question... that's the best comeback. You're not human.
Question here that I'm kind of torn on is the pornography question, and that's only because it's a question of gradation. I'm really wavering between disagree and agree on
freedom of expression, maybe
for the adult
Fourth
population.
Amendment.
Because,
Okay,
again,
I think that's
is it harming third parties? Generally,
I don't know.
I guess I'll say agree. It should be legal for the adult population. I don't know. I'm really torn on this. On a moral level, obviously, I think pornography is one of the great evils in our society. On a legal level, do I think that the government has the capacity?
I don't like it, but I think describing it as a great evil of our society is just a little bit extreme.
Yeah.
just a smidge. We've got kids being shot to death in school every day, but no, let's talk about like why porn is destroying people.
Yeah, porn's the real villain here.
Yeah.
City to regulate it. If you're talking federally, no. Locally, yes. But I think that's true of a lot of things. So they don't actually make clear where the illegality is coming from. All right, let's see where I stand. It says that I am right libertarian.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty far from libertarian.
No, that is right libertarian. But he's technically in the right libertarian corner, but he is one notch away from the Nazi category.
Yeah.
He is one. If he had kept his answer on the porn question and said disagree,
Yeah.
he would have been in the Nazis category.
Wait, so what would left authoritarian be?
Left authoritarian. All right, so left authoritarian. That's like the USSR.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Right, which is true. It says that I'm 6.13.
Okay, that is going to be the end of this segment.
Why? Wait, why?